Wow, over 2,000 subscribers and subscribers on December 21st, 2018 on my German YouTube channel. I can hardly believe it. This YouTube channel is not even a year old, and I would like to thank you for trusting me so much, for showing your interest by subscribing to this video channel, and thank you to the rest of you for just checking out here. I'll just take this opportunity to say again what I have in mind here. In the beginning, this YouTube channel was only intended to provide those who attended my seminars with in-depth material, and I simply followed the message that whatever they wanted, I would do it here. Here, you will find some rock-old material, and you can also see that I have developed further over time. The shorter the hair, the older the material. Now, since the minimalism talk, this YouTube channel has exploded. In the meantime, a lot of people who came here from outside have also joined us, and for me that is a huge enrichment. I actually read all the comments you leave here. You will notice that I don't delete critical voices either. I actually enjoy reading them with great pleasure. One of the funniest insults so far, a woman with a pseudo-doctoral title, helps me again. I really enjoyed it. You can read about it. My answer to that was that I not only have a pseudo-doctoral title, but also a pseudo-Habel title, and am a pseudo-full professor at the pseudo-Christian Albrechts University. My main concern here is, in short, I want to release you into the wild. In mysticism, there is often talk of the true nature of man, or of the vision of the inner being of light, and now through my own meditation experiences, through work in seminars, and of course through a lot of literature that I continue to read in the background. At least that's how I came to this thesis. Man's true nature is not something supernatural, but rather what you bring with you into this world. As babies, as small children, you still have them, and then comes a culture that has not yet understood that every child does not just love, but is love in its essence. And then comes a culture that is about domination, which is about training, praise and blame, standards, and the child is adjusted. And then a lot of your potential is destroyed. What is still called education today is essentially dressage and training. Unfortunately, this has become our second nature. Nope, actually, our actual nature and mysticism calls this the false self or the ego. But because the culture currently values this with the highest values, we don't question it enough. So, what do I want in this channel? Of course, I want to give you information, I want to cheer you up, but in essence, I'm not actually adding that much to you. I'm actually taking something away from you. You will notice from the minimalism lecture, I'll literally tear the sofa out from under you, I'll raid your bookcase. Ultimately, I even want to take religion away from you, take away cultural knowledge. I question everything. I come from a background of imageless mysticism, and it is radical like Zen, in the sense that when their Buddha appears, kill him. Ultimately, I will even rob you of your previous understanding of your identity. Mysticism calls this the mystical self dead. And the dark night, I want you to realize that since you were a little child, others have told you that you have to become something. And I want you to realize that you don't have to become anything. Everything you tried to become probably took effort. And now you're proud of it? You were everything. Yes, of course, there are a lot of beautiful things that the culture has given me, that I no longer crawl on all fours, but can walk on two legs. So I don't want to mess things up at all. Read and write. But my understanding of education is really in the sense of educare, leading out of the darkness, into the clear light of self-confidence, that you recognize who you are, how beautiful you are, that you have the potential that you bring with you, namely infinite developed love. And your false self has led you to constantly wage civil war against yourself. You question yourself, you criticize yourself. You're not good enough for yourself. You mean that you have to fight for everything. You are placed in a competitive society, and I want you to see that. This civil war is simply causing you to burn yourself out, and to me you are like the Indians who are sitting on mineral resources and land, and have given it away for glass beads and fire water. So a lot of your true nature will emerge again if you move around a lot in nature. Then you realize that it's lightness, it's playful. Your senses would be wide and you don't actually have to meditate much anymore. And you won't recognize your nature by brooding a lot, because the mind in particular is filled with so much anticipation and patterns and past knowledge that it always puts you in danger of becoming your own museum. The new one should also be fitted into the existing knowledge system. On the contrary, don't brood anymore. I want you to feel that your soul is expanding again. I want to help you train your perception, and ultimately that you are happy when you stand in the mirror and look into your eyes, that you like looking into your eyes, that you have compassion for the being who tried so hard, who worked so hard, that try to earn love through even more obedience, even more goodness, even more performance. Why do you want to earn love? You are yourself, you are her. At some point, it might no longer be answered, and then it suffocated, then something in your soul broke. In the vacuum, you have been instilled with a bunch of ideas and an ethic, with standards that you constantly criticize yourself by, and that you constantly try to fulfill. I don't even want to give you ethics. I even want to take away your understanding of good and evil, because everyone who has given you norms will only ever have given you the norms that are useful to them. Depending on the social system, e.g., I come from East Germany, it's something completely different, good or bad. If the government wants it, even killing is supposedly good. On the other hand, when you are awake, when your feelings are awake, then no one has to tell you what is right and wrong. You will feel in the situation what is right. If you are awake, if you love, if you feel, you will not kill anyone even on orders. Even if you were told, this is your enemy. We live in a society that spreads images of the enemy. This is education for hatred, which is again the opposite of mysticism. In order to teach a person to hate, you have to first scare them a lot. Because if you're afraid, you can talk about enemies. You can then say, oh, the other is already preparing for war, or the other is talking badly about you, or the other wants to cut you off. From then on, you will realize that as soon as you are afraid, you are ready to hate. On the other hand, when you love, you rest within yourself. When your mind is awake, you will realize that haste is simply based on projections of fear. So, the only ethics there is, be awake, be aware, feel. That's why for me an education that is largely based on instilling knowledge and certain skills. Still very incomplete. In my ethics of love, it is not primarily about you constantly sacrificing yourself for others, but rather that you first feel at all, then that you develop compassion for yourself, as I said, that you look happily into each other's eyes, that you take seriously the history written on the face. That's why I didn't delete my old videos, because you'll see how much fear, how much rigidity is still in my face or is present. There is tired in there. I'm not retouching this. I don't wear makeup. I want to encourage you to be people with faces again, that you take off the masks and stand by it. And if others criticize you, you can leave it as their projection, as their fear, as their problem with you. If they say, I have a problem with her, or you are wrong. That says a lot about you. You yourself can never be wrong. The more awake you are, the more you are you. The more you will be awake, the more you will be love, the more you will open up. I want to teach adults to play. Be the child again with this full potential that is inherent in you. I don't idolize children. You are a seed of man. When he is born, there is first a seed that must grow up. But the others shouldn't stand in his way, with their expectations, with their demands. Wow, the most important thing is that you fit into society. You are a unique potential. My experience is, even with people who say, oh, I'm too old already. No, you have a lot of experience. If you combine that again with your playful spirit and the alertness that you bring with you, then something beautiful can come out of it. I will also try to answer any questions that come up frequently or that I find interesting. As soon as I find time, I would also shoot a few videos. One of the questions here on YouTube was, what do you mean by mysticism? You talk so much about Jesus Christ. Yes, it is clear. Many of the lectures are simple and are included here. From my professional context, they are in front of pastors, they are in front of church people. In seminars, I often say, yes, I understand Jesus Christ, simply as the archetype, the blueprint. If we are the seed for a redwood forest sequoia, then it is a fully grown sequoia. That's the benchmark. This is also your blueprint as a seed. And when you realize, oh, I've become such a hothouse plant, or help, they made bonsai out of me, or, oh, I became a hedge because, something went wrong. So that's the benchmark. Jesus Christ is a fully conscious human being, but so is Buddha or Krishna. And if you compare that, you will notice that there is no model for a fully conscious person. For heaven's sake, don't be an imitator of Jesus Christ that we now have to wear our hair like that or wear Jesus slippers. This is an awareness of its time. Buddha, on the other hand, simply sits under his tree and becomes enlightened. First is the enlightened dancer and flute player. So there is no standard as to what a fully conscious person looks like, and what is called divinity or God in religions is simply the level of your fully conscious mind. There is a layer of consciousness, even beyond thought, that so much clarity, so much depth of focus in the moment, when your mind is no longer constantly spinning in problem-solving mode with unresolved stories from the past, and when you realize that there is no other life than the one you have now lived. That is, if you don't postpone everything into the future. The more strength you gather here and now and don't give away, the more you feel your own energy. That's why don't look for the solution outside, but rather feel that you are the solution. Everything is already there in you. The more you look for outside things, the more you lose yourself, the more power you give away. And the more you simply trust yourself, look into yourself, bundle your energy within yourself, wrap yourself up in it, the more power you will have, the more liveliness you will feel, the more your own beauty will be, which is inherent in you, is to come to light. I also found the question funny. Help! What do your colleagues say about this? Are you getting into trouble as a professor with this YouTube channel? Answer 1. Fortunately, it is a Protestant theological faculty, and it is really very free-spirited. I am pleased that I ended up in Kiel with colleagues who also research mysticism in their own way. For example, my colleague Enno Popkes, you can also find him on my YouTube channel. He has dealt with the topic of near-death experiences and says that these are experiences of divine love. He writes tons of books about a Platonic Christianity, which means that Jesus is best understood from the perspective of Plato and Platonic philosophy. I talk to him a lot because Andreas Müller works on early Christianity, that's what they call church priests, and he also does a lot of research on Origins, on Evarios, the people I think are good. You can also find a few interviews with it. My colleague Hartmut Rosenau wrote encyclopedia articles about mysticism. He is familiar with the philosophy of German idealism. Maybe I can get him for interviews sometime. So I ended up in a very warm company. I feel like I fit in well there too. And answer 2 is yes. How should I say this? Of course, I don't say everything on YouTube, but rather when I work in groups. Maybe that's a hint.